What if everything you've been taught about Western thought was missing its first chapter? What if the cradle of reason, logic, and philosophy did not begin in Greece, but in Africa? Long before Plato questioned truth, before Aristotle studied reason, African scholars along the Nile were already exploring the mysteries of the universe. Brace yourself, because we're about to rewrite the origin story of Western civilization. In the temples of ancient Egypt, priests and philosophers pondered the same questions the Greeks would later claim as their own. What is justice? What is order? What is the nature of the soul? These ideas, carved in stone and written on papyrus, crossed deserts and seas, shaping minds that would later be called Western. But over time, that truth was buried, silenced, rewritten. Today, we unveil the hidden legacy, the African origins of Western thought. Welcome to the African history. More than 5,000 years ago, on the banks of the Nile, a civilization flourished, one that valued knowledge as sacred. Kemet, known today as Egypt, was not just a kingdom of kings and pyramids. It was a nation of thinkers, scientists, and philosophers. The Egyptians believed the world was governed by Ma'at, the eternal principle of truth, balance, and justice. To live by Ma'at was to live in harmony with the universe. It was philosophy in its purest form, thousands of years before the word philosophy was even coined. They asked questions still relevant today. What is real? What is good? What is just? Their answers shaped religion, governance, science, and moral thought. Egyptian temple schools trained minds in logic, mathematics, medicine, and ethics, long before Athens built its first academy. Their knowledge would soon travel north and change the course of history. The bridge between Africa and Greece is one of the most overlooked chapters in human history. For centuries, Greek travelers spoke of Egypt as a land of wisdom. Herodotus called it the cradle of civilization. Thales of Miletus, one of the earliest Greek philosophers, reportedly studied geometry and astronomy in Egypt. Pythagoras, the father of mathematics, spent over 20 years learning under Egyptian priests, mastering ideas that existed long before his theorem bore his name. Plato himself acknowledged Egypt's advanced education system and moral code, praising the Egyptians for the way they taught children discipline and virtue. Even Aristotle, though he rarely gave credit, drew from knowledge that originated in African temples and libraries. The Greeks didn't invent philosophy out of nothing. They encountered it, learned from it, and transformed it. Yet, history told a different story. Over time, Africa's intellectual contribution was erased, replaced by a myth of European genesis, a narrative where civilization was born in Greece and spread outward. But the truth is clear. The roots of Western thought reach deep into African soil. Let's break down the core ideas that crossed from Africa to Europe: order, reason, and the cosmos. First, order. In Egypt, Ma'at represented the balance of the universe: truth, justice, and harmony. This idea shaped how people viewed law, morality, and even the afterlife. When the Greeks spoke of logos, the rational order of the cosmos, they were echoing Ma'at. Second, reason. The Egyptian priesthood trained in rational thinking: geometry, astronomy, medicine, and ethics. They didn't separate science from spirituality. They believed both were tools to understand reality. When Greek philosophers began using logic and debate to search for truth, they continued that same tradition. Third, cosmos. Egyptian scholars mapped the stars, created calendars, and studied the movements of planets thousands of years before Greek astronomy. Their understanding of cosmic order laid the groundwork for what later became Greek metaphysics, and eventually, Western science. From the temples of Thebes to the halls of Athens, these ideas journeyed across time, evolving, adapting, but never disappearing. Mathematics. Egyptians used advanced geometry to build pyramids and measure the Nile. Greek mathematicians later formalized these methods, giving them new names but old roots. Ethics. Egypt's 42 principles of Ma'at were among the earliest moral codes, predating the Ten Commandments. They guided personal behavior, social harmony, and justice. Centuries later, Greek philosophers debated virtue, justice, and the good life, ideas already deeply explored in Africa. Astronomy. Egyptians aligned temples with the stars, tracked solstices, and invented the solar calendar. When Greek astronomers charted the heavens, they built upon African observations stretching back millennia. Every field that Greece later became famous for, mathematics, philosophy, politics, medicine, had its earliest chapters written on African soil. But as power shifted northward, so did the story of where knowledge began. Why has this truth been hidden for so long? Because history is written by those who hold the pen, and for centuries, that pen was European. As colonialism spread, so did a Eurocentric worldview, one that painted Africa as the student, never the teacher. Western historians declared that philosophy began in Greece, as if Africa's wisdom was myth, not thought. Entire generations grew up believing Africa contributed art and rhythm, but not reason or reflection. But modern research tells a different story. Scholars across the world, from Cheikh Anta Diop to Molefi Kete Asante, have proven that African civilizations practiced structured philosophical inquiry long before the classical Greek era. They explored metaphysics, ethics, and epistemology. They asked the same profound questions humanity still struggles with today. This isn't about replacing Greece with Africa. It's about restoring the missing link, recognizing that civilization didn't begin in isolation, but in connection. Western thought is not a lone pillar. It is a tree with African roots. So, what does this revelation mean for us today? It means acknowledging that knowledge belongs to no single race or continent. It means understanding that truth and wisdom have always been global, shared, and evolving. It means African students can look at philosophy, science, and literature and see themselves not as outsiders, but as originators. It means Western societies must confront the biases embedded in their education systems, the ones that start philosophy in Athens and end it in Europe. Recognizing Africa's role doesn't diminish Western civilization. It enriches it. It completes the story. The idea of reason, of order, of justice, the very DNA of Western thought, was first written in hieroglyphs, not Latin or Greek. The torch of wisdom didn't ignite in Greece. It was carried there, burning bright from the temples of Africa. The next time you hear the names Plato, Aristotle, or Socrates, remember the teachers they never mentioned. Remember the libraries of Thebes and Heliopolis. Remember Mayat, truth, justice, balance, the African principle that shaped the world's moral compass. History has always been more connected than we're told. When Africa's story is included, the puzzle of civilization finally fits together. This isn't just about the past. It's about identity, pride, and truth. Because when Africa rises in memory, the world rises in understanding. The African origins of Western thought are not a footnote. They are the foundation. And the more we uncover that truth, the closer we come to rewriting the story of humanity itself. Thank you for watching The African History. If this changed how you see the world, share it. Let the truth echo again, because wisdom's birthplace matters, and its story is our story.